I urge the vice president and the president to fight a little harder. You know, we can't see these arguments as static things. Vote counts don't stand still. Presidents of the United States, like no one else can, has the ability to move the needle, and I don't think that this administration understands that. The President of the United States has to realize that we will back him up. We want him to succeed. This isn't the same critique he's getting from Republicans who want him to fail. We want him to be a success, and frankly, sometimes I think he doesn't drive a hard enough bargain.
A lot of anger being directed from Democrats at the White House right now. We're joined now by Susan Davis of National Journal, who covers Capitol Hill. Up there, we're hearing this just bubbling over right now, and just a lot of anger, almost vitriol from Democrats over how this has gone down. Do you think it's just a bluff, though, or at the end of the day, will Democrats be able to hold this back and say, sorry, White House, we're not going to do this deal? I don't think they are. I don't think that I think at the end of the day, the deal that's been cut between the White House and Senate Republicans is probably what's going to happen. There's still some room to negotiate the small details, but the bigger details, I think, are in place. I think what Congressman DeFazio said it when he said there's this indignation, you know, we're in the majority. Right. And Republicans are looking at them saying, yeah, but not for long.
You know, I was talking to the congressman before the interview, and he was pointing out that he's been here for 23 years. He cannot recall of a single incident like this where you have had the caucus actually vote to tell its leadership not to bring a bill to the floor. I mean, it's really, in his view, unprecedented, and it seems like it is.
I don't know if you'd say it's unprecedented, but I do think the vote in the caucus, it's not binding. I think that House Democrats needed a way to vent their anger at what happened. And Nancy Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, the House Democratic leadership was completely cut out of this negotiation. They were at the White House on Tuesday. They asked the White House, you know, is there a deal here? And the White House said, no, 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 there's no deal. And 2 hours later, they're reading about it in the press. Politicians don't like that. They like to be in the tent. They don't want to be outside the tent. And I think that congressional Democrats think that the party's gotten a really raw deal.
And it seems like one thing that's sort of underlaying all of this is the sense that, yes, they know that they're not going to be in power forever. They know that a month from now it's going to be Speaker Boehner and the Republicans. To see President Obama give away this much now while they still have the votes is particularly concerning to a lot of Democrats.
Yes, I do think that an interesting component and factor of this is Mitch McConnell. I think that tactically he played this really smart. As soon as lame duck, they laid it on the line, got all 42 Republican senators to say, we're not going to move anything until we get a deal on this. And he had a lot of leverage. And I think as a tactician, as a politics, he moved really smart on this.
Well, you know, it is extraordinary to think that you had these negotiations and there was so much fanfare. The White House appointed the Treasury Secretary and the OMB Director to meet with, you know, the leadership's choices up here to negotiate. And my understanding, as you were saying, I mean, Chris Van Hollen, for instance, had no idea that this deal had been struck, was told it hadn't been struck, and read about it in media accounts. I mean, this is not just a question of substance here. There's a real annoyance with how the White House has handled this, right?
I would also note, too, and I talked to leadership aides on both sides of the Capitol yesterday, who there was a lot of anonymous White House official quotes attributed sort of criticizing Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid and their leadership in Capitol Hill. And there's just this indignation of, you know, we spent 2 years moving an agenda and the White House has sort of turned. I do think what we're seeing this week, I think, sort of set up what the dynamic's going to be for the 112th Congress, where you're going to see a lot more anger coming from House Democrats who aren't as important as they once were to the White House, whose own political aims has completely changed.
Well, last 20 seconds or so here, just put you on the spot. Is Don't Ask, Don't Tell going to get repealed in this Congress?
I don't think so. Again, I think Republicans look at this and they say, the election, it sent a message, and we're going to run this town, and we don't oppose it.
And if it doesn't happen in the next couple of weeks, I think we can agree it's not going to happen for the next couple of years at least.
Yeah, John Boehner hasn't even said he would bring it to the floor as Speaker, so I think if it doesn't happen now, it's probably not going to happen anytime soon.
All right, Susan Davis from National Journal, appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
That does it for this edition of Top Line. John, get back to the reporting up there. A lot going on.
You got it. There sure is. We'll see you, Rick.
All right, twitter.com/Rick Klein, twitter.com/John Karl.